Welcome to Aussie Lawn Stars. I believe most people at some stage will ask the question, what does it take to start a successful business? And this leads a lot of us to ask, what does it take to start or run a successful lawn care business? Well, Prez and I are here to tell you why your lawn care business will fail. So many lawn care businesses fail or serve a very short-term goal. Let's look at what it takes to get it right and what people are doing wrong.
Welcome to Aussie Lawn Stars, the fresh cut lawn care podcast. We've got Aussie legends and cowboys, seasons and grasses, and we're talking about unique equipment. Prepare to hear the real life tales of local stars. Plus, we have the latest equipment, reviews, and exciting interviews with the best suppliers. We will dig the fertile field of stories from part-time solo operators who are living the life, along with those of growth-focused entrepreneurs, identifying what makes a business successful. We really do cover it all.
Well, welcome to the dungeon, Prez Madley.
Thank you. This is sort of my dungeon too. It's my shed. Welcome.
Yeah. We've got the dungeon on YouTube this time, so, everyone can see what's going on and enjoy the lighting and the sexy boys in the dungeon.
Yeah, get to see me.
Yeah, that's good. And I've brought you back into the dungeon for the third time. You can't claim to be a virgin anymore.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
the reason why I brought you back into the dungeon is because I want to talk to people about why their mowing business will fail.
Nice.
A lot of people are going to be listening to this episode thinking about starting a business, or maybe they have started, but they're a little bit unsure about what they're doing, whether they're doing it right, what they're going to do over the next 12 months to make sure they succeed. Or, a lot of people probably just start a business thinking I'll just make beer money for a few months and make it through the summer, and then I'll stop doing it. Maybe do it again next summer. We'll see how we go.
Yeah.
But yeah, I wanted to call it why your mowing business will fail, because there are so many that do fail.
Yeah, some high
And
stats, eh? I just looked at the small business across Australia, the stats for that. And it's within 5 years it goes up to 90% have failed. That's crazy.
Yeah,
90.
so first 12 months, I think you found 20 or 30% of small businesses will fail in the first 12 months.
Yep.
And I would project onto our industry a little bit higher failure rate than that. And maybe it's not actual failure rate, but it's more a case of people that are just doing it for a short-term cowboy act, beer money.
Yeah, well, I know when I cranked up, there's not many left, but new have started again. So it's they come and go.
Yeah, they certainly do. There's a lot of people who give it a crack for a few months, and that's it.
Yeah. And
So,
all right, you go.
yeah, so hopefully people listening to this episode will get the opportunity to think a little bit more about what they want out of their business and how to achieve it.
Yeah, because sort of, I suppose why I'm here is I've started a coaching business as well as my lawn mowing, I suppose, and I just put what I do in that with certain little small businesses and people. So we can get a different aspect, I suppose, what I see on each little section that we're going to talk about.
So let's give your coaching business a proper plug then. So have you got a name for it yet?
Yeah, you ready for it? Think Tank Coaching. So I do business coaching, development coaching, and personal development coaching, and leadership development.
Yeah.
The personal development, that's the most popular. I've done it with so many people, and it goes pretty wild. get so much good feedback from that one. People stuck in a gap. A lot of people have started businesses out of it, with
Yeah.
just seeing where they want to go in the future, planning forward. A lot of people I've started with that one is they don't know what they're going to do next week, let alone the rest of how to plan the rest of their life or even look for opportunities. So yeah, that goes good,
Yeah.
really good. So
Yeah.
yeah,
Nice.
check it out on .com.au.
Yeah. Okay. So think tank coaching.
Yep, that's me with
Awesome.
the I got a good logo. Might make you laugh.
Yeah. I might have to sign up for Aussie Lawn Stars and see if you can help kick it along.
Yeah. Might even bloody do you a favour for the
Awesome.
advertising.
I'm all for favours. Sounds
Yeah,
good to me.
yep.
Yeah.
Well, that's
Personal
me.
favours, business favours, all sorts of favours.
Customers. You get the customer asking you
Lovely.
how they're going to pay for
Yep. Well, you try and get some people paying for the podcast.
it. Righto. So,
Yeah.
where do you want to start?
Well, we're broken down this episode into several topics that we want to cover, right? So if we jump in to the deep end, one of the issues with starting a small business is that people do not have a vision. If I say,
Mm.
Prez, you do not have a vision, what does it make you feel? What are you thinking there? When you want to do you want to kick back on that?
Yeah. Well, that's probably a really good starting point for any business. If you don't have a vision, you pretty much are just winging it every step of the way. Everything will be harder. You don't have a vision, you probably won't find any motivation because you don't know what you're going to go do or what you're going to reach. Um,
Yeah.
so I've got a few notes here too. So some when I talk to people about vision, this is probably that when I do. I talked to a girl about starting up a business, starting up her own clothing line, and
Yeah.
this was the first thing I asked her was why? Why do you want to start your own business? And a lot of people you'll hear, I want to be at home more. I want to be a millionaire, make money. But you got to think more deeper. So if you thought, I want to be rich. Okay, that's why you're starting your own business as a lawnmower. I want to be rich. Um, but what if you want to go deeper into that? What's that money give you instead of just being rich? That's why. What does it give you? And that'll be your why. So does it give you um, free time at home? Does it give you the opportunity to buy a house? Does it so many things that why, that initial I want to be rich can give you. Just think really deeper. What does that why? What does that do for you? And that's the why you're starting your business. And is it the right
So
reason?
to borrow from somebody else that I've heard, what you're saying is goals need to be specific and detailed.
Yes. Uh,
So rather than just I want to be rich, I want to have an income of $1 million a year.
yeah. But we're thinking of the why. That's a bit later on for the business. When you think of the why you want to start this business, it comes down to you yourself. Why do you want to start it? And then goals will come out of that why later. So you could be your why is you just love mowing lawns. You love giving people this beautiful front yard. That's the why you want to start this mowing business. And
Yeah.
also, what are your values out of that? You think of what are your core values for yourself? Is you um, respect people's property. You love creating something out of, like, if it's a blank canvas, just a yard, you want to create something really, really nice outdoor space for them. So that's another why do you want to start this business? Is it a passion of yours? And that's it's going to be a pretty hard thing to start to think about at the start. And I spend a lot of time. This is the all this once you get this really smick, all the rest just flows with it. Some other questions you can ask yourself is, what do you want your business to be at the end? Will help you work it out. What impact do you want your business to do for um, that area or whatever it is? Yeah. So if we're thinking lawn mowing,
Yeah.
what impact is that going to create for that for all that area? So yeah,
I
it's a great.
sense a little bit of tension here, and I know that you and I don't agree on some things. We're going to get into a few more
Yeah.
things we don't agree on. But when you're talking about vision that somebody's starting a business with, particularly a lawn mowing business,
Mm.
a lot of the time, and I like to refer back to that vision board that people are either scared of or they love. And typically speaking, those visions will be about personal goals, like you say, not business goals initially. So,
Yes. Yep.
you know, the yacht, the jet ski, the
Yep.
motorbike. The motorbike is the most important one out of those, by the way. But the free time to ride the motorbike or spend with your
Yep.
kids and the flexibility. So, a lot of people start with those personal goals and they see starting a business as basically having a job rather than being entrepreneurial about it. The only entrepreneurial thought they have is just to go, oh, if I start a business, I can choose my own hours and I
Yes.
can
Yeah.
charge what I want.
Yeah.
And they're
Yeah.
both important things.
Yep. Yeah.
But
And
yeah, to flesh out that vision board properly, you've got to go, okay, let's break it up into those separate things, personal goals and visions,
yep.
business goals and visions. And
Yep.
then how do those marry together?
Yes, that's right, and they will. So then you can have what you want as your personal vision, where what you want to do in the end. So you want to end up your vision could be, I want to create this business and then sell it within so many years. But then your vision for your business is, I want this to be uh, one of the leading service lawn care service providers in the area, or all of Australia, whatever you want to go for. It's up to you, however big you want.
Yeah, so you're really getting into the detailed and specific goals, long term goals there, and
Yeah,
that's
yeah.
something a lot of people don't put a lot of thought into. So when
Mm,
people starting a business, often they will have a lofty goal of, you know what, I want to make this business work so well that I can retire and it still keeps running, so that I have a
mm.
passive income.
Yep.
But they don't have any specifics about what that might look like or how they might achieve it. And I'm
Yeah.
guilty of doing that.
Yep. Yeah, because you got to think of it right at the start, and it will change as it goes. Which don't think you're going to get perfect straight away. No one ever does. I don't know.
Yeah.
Maybe Elon Musk, but I don't know who else would. But you keep changing as a way to, as you start thinking differently, as your mindset changes to that entrepreneur or manager, whatever your way you want to go.
Yeah.
But this is a very important step of how you want your business to go, which direction, and the one thinking of, what do you want it to be at the end? Because when is the end? It could be 1 year, 2 years. It could be never. Like if it was um, I don't know, a big franchise, say.
Yeah, you get to the point where it's totally passive income. Why shut it down?
Yeah, that's right. And then you end up being a shareholder, or a main shareholder of the massive company. But um, that's thinking way bigger. So But this is where it starts. Every business, this is where it starts. Is
Yep.
where do you want it to? Where do you want it to be at the end? You just want it to be beer
So
money
yeah,
at the end. That's what it'll do.
I'm going to suggest that people start with 2 or 3 specifics that they need to really nut out for themselves and work out what it is that
Yep.
forms part of their vision or their purpose. So
Yeah.
first one is money, because
Yep.
let's face it, if you're in business, you should be making money, and that should be, the dirty word, profit.
Yeah.
And then the second one is time. So you've got to invest time into running the business, but you're also most likely starting a business so that you're not a slave to the clock like you are when you're an employee. So you got to work out the balance between time and money.
Yep.
And thirdly is you've got to actually provide a service if you're going to run a business. So if you're running a lawn care business, you're doing it by providing a service. Occasionally, there might be a little bit of product involved in that service, and sometimes you can blur the lines between what is product and what is service. But
Yep.
ultimately, you've got to nut out the specifics about those 3 things. So, what is the service you're going to provide the customer that makes it attractive, so that they want that service?
Yep.
What are your financial goals being in business, and what are your time goals?
Yeah. Yeah. And this will be so. And that will come from if you start thinking way bigger with the vision or your purpose at the start. When you get into measuring, having metrics and KPIs, and
Well,
and
let's
setting
stop there.
goals.
Let's not talk about those dirty things.
Yeah.
So
Yep.
I'm going to railroad you off the track there. We're moving into segment 2. We're not talking about KPIs at this point in time. So
Yeah. Let's
if
do it.
you haven't got those things lined up properly in your vision and your purpose, you are just creating yourself a job, not a business.
Yep. That's right. You've got yourself a job with a really crap boss that never gives you days off or time off. Wants you to work
I
for
know this
free.
is true because I've done it.
Yep. Yep. I know I have. And it's yeah. You're the worst boss. You're the worst boss to yourself because you'll always be thinking of the business, and yeah, you don't give yourself any time off at all. But it can um, you can start like that. It can start where you have a really terrible boss, and you can go back to thinking, righto, what do I want from this business? Where do I want it to be in the future? What do I want it to be at the end? Um, and what's my vision? What do I see this? How I see this going? So
Now, some people are going to be pushing back against what you're saying here, and I like to push back against Pres Madly.
yeah, few people
So,
do.
what's wrong with being self-employed?
No, it's nothing wrong with being self-employed. It's just the way you're thinking about the employment. Is it just a job, or have you created a business?
So, a lot of people running a lawn care business or thinking about starting a lawn care business, they're going to be quite happy to do that, exactly that. Just create a job, just to the point where I've got a bit of flexibility and I'm in control of how many hours I choose to work,
Yep.
and probably falsely, but believes that they're in control of how much money they make too.
Yeah, yeah. Because that's yeah, that's a good point. So profit, when we talk about profit, as if you're thinking of it as you're just it's just a job, all of that money you get paid is profit, and then you take your expenses out that you see it on a daily basis or weekly. You're just paying for it. That's giving yourself a job. You're paying yourself, and you don't know what the rest of the money is. It just starts disappearing as an expense. But if you can set it up as a business where you're measuring things like your expenses, you're forecasting your expenses, you've got your profit margin is exact. So whatever your profit margin is, so you'll know what the likelihood of a profit margin is for this industry. It's like 20-30% is your profit margin.
Yes.
So what that is is pure profit that you don't need for the business. You don't need it. You can take that out of the business and the business will survive. So that profit margin does not need to go anywhere in the business.
I'm going to do a little bit of self-promotion right now.
Yep.
If you go back through Aussie Lawn Stars and you look for 2 episodes with Prosper Financial,
Yeah.
we
Yeah.
spend a fair bit of time talking about the profit margin. And I'm going to highlight there's 3 different ways to look at your profit margin here. One of them is pure profit, which you're talking about, around that 20 to 30% profit margin, which lawn care businesses should be earning in
Yep.
Australia. And that's based on the fact that you go, okay, there's $100 for a period of work that is you get paid by the customer. That $100 gets split between paying wages of an employee, whether it's you or a new employee, is beside the point. That certain amount gets put towards paying wages, certain amount gets put towards paying expenses that are not wages, and the remainder is profit.
Yep.
So 20 or 30% should be profit. Out of that $100, you should see 20 or $30 that is just profit. It's not for paying your
Pure
wage
profit.
or
Yep.
an employee's wage. It is money that you make after all your expenses are paid.
Yeah,
There's
that's right.
another way of looking at it, right? If you are the only employee in the business and you go, okay, take wages out of it. Wages is considered part of my profit now because I'm
Yeah.
self-employed. Then it should be around 50 to 60% of your $100 is considered profit. And
Yep.
if you twist the numbers a little bit further and you go, okay, out of that $100, how much of that benefits my lifestyle? Because there's business expenses that benefit your lifestyle,
Yeah.
like your
Yeah. Yeah.
mobile phone, your computer, your electricity bill,
Yeah.
the vehicle that you use for work is probably also getting used for the family on the weekend.
Yeah.
All those sorts of things are business expenses that benefit your lifestyle, and that pushes you up around probably $85 out of that $100 that you benefit from. So 3 different numbers there,
Yeah.
and it
Yeah.
depends on how you're looking at your business as to which one's really important to you. But we are suggesting that the pure profit is the one that ultimately will determine your business's snapshot of success. So if you're pure profit after you pay wages and expenses and every expense imaginable is 20 to 30%.
Yep. Yep. And so what it'll do if you are taking your wage, all of that into as a profit, it'll surprise you later on if you do grow your business to where you're employing people. It'll your profit will you'll see your profit and think, oh my God, something's gone terribly wrong because I've budgeted for my profit to be way higher, and because you haven't measured it at the start. So if you're working like I think we spoke, we spoke the other day about the unbillable hours, which we had 2 different points to it, which
Yes.
I'm saying. If you're not classing that as a wage, how you're working for free, it's just topping up your profit, which is making it look better than what it actually is. So you should account for that as a wage for whatever time, and what that will help also if you do put it as time for a wage. You're getting paid to do that actual invoicing, marketing, whatever it is. If you can see how many minutes that one property, so that $100 property, how many minutes that invoice took, maybe it was 30 seconds to send that or 1 minute to send that, you can start working out how much exactly per hour you can charge, and then you'll know that it's actually not unbilled. It's factored into that 1 minute of invoicing, or and it'll really show your pure profit margin. That's true. So then when you do have to employ someone for that job, your profit margin doesn't change. It's the same. You've accounted for
Now, this sounds great, but I've got to push back again. I think you're full of it.
it.
The problem I see here is new person starts up a business and they use a spreadsheet and a Word document to keep track of their scheduling and send out their invoicing.
Yeah.
So, new person starting up a business is not going to spend the same amount of time on administrative duties as somebody who's got 100 employees and
Yeah.
spends 10 seconds doing the admin duties for each job.
Yeah. Um,
It scales, but it doesn't
yeah.
scale, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it does. Yeah, you'll get to a point where you're actually doing more work. So it'll start not much, which doesn't seem like you should, and your profit margin or your you won't factor it in because it's only so like I don't know how long do you spend a night doing invoices when you're only small, probably 5-10 minutes flicking them off. Some people maybe longer. But as you get more and more um, customers or clients and growing, you'll get to a point where you need to employ that person. If you haven't factored that time that you're using and you're not paying anyone, you're doing it for free, and then all of a sudden you paid someone, your profit margin's dropped because you haven't factored it in. So
So,
that's my point of view anyway. What I think. Yeah, I just like
another
factoring
shameless plug.
everything in. Yeah.
Yeah, another shameless plug from a podcast here. If you wind the clock back and you look for an episode with Brendan Winterbourne,
Yep.
he talks about the scalability of running a business, and he was speaking a little bit of doomsday talk about small businesses, and he was talking from his point of view. He's got over 100 employees. I think it's closer to 150.
Yep.
And he was saying that the smaller businesses really struggle to do exactly what you're saying. They struggle to go from solo through to that sort of 5 to 10 employee marker and grow from that point, because they hit a ceiling at that 5 to 10 employee mark where they've got to pay an admin person, they've got to pay
Yeah.
a maintenance person, they've got to pay people to come in and do these jobs that they haven't factored in, or
Yeah.
the lack of scalability on those jobs becomes really obvious if you haven't got your pricing right. But the other aspect of there is it's a lot more feasible to pay an admin person when you've got 50 employees than when you've got 5 employees. You need that admin person when you've got 5 employees, but when you've got 50 employees, one admin person can oversee a lot more than 5 employees.
Yeah. And it like this. Yeah, it could go into different things. Like there's smart ways to do it where you can use what do you call like them services that you only pay for the job they do and things like that.
Yeah.
Instead of paying a whole person, there's all these options. But yeah, my main point is with that is to get it so it's visible, so you know it is an expense, but um, that you're doing the work of someone that you'll eventually pay once you grow. Um, so then there's no surprise at the end. Yeah, you don't. You know exactly how much profit margin you'll always have if you can do it right.
Yeah. Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's move on to segment 3. Now, we've got a topic here which is really important, particularly when you're starting your business. And if you don't get this right, it will screw you over. So, having a customer focused mindset, if you prioritize profits over customer satisfaction, where does that leave you?
hmm Yep. No customers, no profit. Definitely.
And it might sound good to prioritize profit over customer satisfaction. After all, we've just been talking about knowing your profit margin.
Yeah. It is
But
a good point. It is a very good point for every single business is having a customer focused mindset. Doesn't mean customer's always
yeah,
right. It means you're focusing on the customer.
now I'm glad you actually said that. The customer is not
Yeah.
always right.
Yes.
You need to treat them like they're always right, but you also
Yes.
need to know when they're not right, and the polite way of telling them, sorry, our relationship's untenable.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah, that's right. And if you can yeah, do it like they are right. You won't get that bad review.
Yeah.
That could be the detriment of your business.
So I guess what people need to hear here is if you are starting a business and you go, okay, I'm going to provide a service of lawn mowing, and you go in to sell that service to a customer and they say, well, I want it done this way. And you're like, well, my business only does X. You're potentially reducing the amount of customers that you can take on because you're only willing to do the lawn in the wrong way, and those customers are not going to be happy with the outcome because of that. So if you're
Mm.
willing to listen to what the customer wants, then you can work out A, if you are in a position to give them what they want, or B, if you can politely say, no, that's not available.
Yep, that's right. And um, if you if you're prioritizing the profit is more like you see a job. So go back to the $100 job that you're talking about. If it takes you, so it takes you an hour, that's $100 an hour. Um, so then you're prioritizing profit over the customer, what they want. That's it. That means you'll get in and just smash it out as fast as you can to increase that. So it drops to 45 minutes, but you haven't hit the edges all straight. You um, I don't know, haven't caught or whatever they wanted. If they wanted it caught, but you quickly mulched it, so it saved you 15 minutes. Um, just so you've increased that profit, but next minute you've lost a whole customer, so that's gone because that consistency's
There's
not there.
there's nothing wrong with mulching instead of catching. I just got to say that.
No, it's just what the customer wants. Yeah.
Yeah, and that is really important. If the
Mm.
customer is not going to be happy with mulching, then you are wrong by mulching.
Yeah, and like if that's your how you set your business up is mulching only, that's where it comes down to the customer is you got to let them know that's not your business model. Um,
Yeah,
so either they can find someone else or let you do the mulching like you've set up.
yeah, that's it. So
Um,
it's really sorry. Go ahead.
I was just going to talk about with the customer. I had written down here a note about Simon Sinek. Um,
Yeah,
so he wrote a couple books and YouTube videos or TED Talks, and the
yeah,
book
he's pretty well known.
the book I like is starting with why. So when you sell your stuff to customers, is is why is a why, and then how, and then what it is. So if we think
Yeah,
of um, yeah, I always use this with my customers, and it goes really well because I'm not my why is not I'm giving you a cut lawn or mulch lawn, court lawn. That's not my why. It's what do you like? Why is more about you're giving them a beautiful outdoor space. You're giving them the weekend back, giving them um, they don't have to own a mower or worry about any of that stuff. Um, so you can break it down into where you're selling the why, not the lawn mowing. Okay,
yeah,
so the why
yep,
is I'm giving you this beautiful outdoor space every time you walk out. It's either going to be cut or just about to be. All gardens are going to be nice. It's just going to look perfect all the time. That's what I'm giving you. And then you think of like the how is I'm going to listen to exactly what you say, and then the what is I'm going to give you a professional service. So you can think of by the end they're like, yeah, right. Oh well, I want to I want to pay you for giving me this beautiful outdoor area, not because you do a professional service. That's the last thing we talk about. If that makes sense.
Now, you touched on something that hit a raw nerve with me a little bit earlier, and I think it's worth exploring a bit further. You mentioned that if you're focusing on profit, you'll often take that $100. If I can earn that $100 in 45 minutes instead of an hour, I'm going to be more profitable.
Yep.
And so go flat out, do whatever you can to try and get your time improved. Buy a faster mower, improve your time.
Yep.
The question comes up for the customer: are they getting perceived value from you?
Yeah.
And
Yeah. That's a good point.
one of the factors that will go through a customer's mind is, am I paying for your time? And
Yep.
this is a major issue for a service industry because service industries often are valued by time.
Yeah.
And so we like to push back as business owners and go, actually, we are providing you value based on the end product that that service gives you rather than by the time it takes to do it. But ultimately, you need to have a good look at a customer's attitude and motivation so that you can understand how they perceive your value. And particularly if you're providing a service where your labor is directly correlating to the amount of money they spend. And so if you're going to change what you do so that you make it quicker, you need to help the customer understand that they're still getting good value so that their perception doesn't change of you and think that you're actually doing something dodgy when you buy a bigger mower and do their lawn
Mm.
in half the time.
Yeah. Yeah. That's a really good point. And that's where what I was just talking about is you're selling the why. They see that value there, not the what you're going to do. It's the why you're doing it. And I really encourage people to Google that. Simon Sinek, watch little videos or read his book because I can't explain it as good as him, but it'll
Yeah.
really spark some creativity with how you treat your customers and talk to your customers
So
when you're trying
the
to
book
sell
is
stuff.
called Start With Why.
Yeah, yep. But if you don't like reading, I reckon YouTube or TED Talks. He's all over it everywhere there. But he'll yeah, he can explain it really well, better than me anyway.
I've recently been running the Ego Select Cut 52cm mower. It's available in a contractor's kit specifically for those of us running them all day. Two 10 amp hour batteries and the turbocharger are all included in the contractor kit, bringing it in at $17.99. When mowing maintained lawns, you'll never run out of battery power as it recharges the 10 amp battery in 60 minutes. If you don't have access to charging while you work, you'll get through an average 8-hour residential day with 4 to 5 10 amp hour batteries. This will vary significantly depending on the type of grass and frequency of cut. As you well know, there are many variables on residential jobs that affect the amount of time you spend mowing and how much load you put on the mower. This is the first battery-powered mower I've used that is a serious alternative to petrol-powered push or self-propelled 21-inch mowers. While there are now several options in this space, Ego meets amazing value, and I'd rate it well above the consumer grade. In fact, I think it fills the prosumer niche in this category perfectly. So I reckon 50-50 with our listeners. Some of them are going to go, all right, I want to buy his book or listen to those YouTube TED
Yeah,
Talks. For people who want to adopt this principle to their business straight away, look at what you're providing value with your customers and go, okay, if the
mm,
customer is assessing their value based on the amount of time I'm there, talk to the customer about going, okay, if I do it quicker, as long as the edges are still sharp, as long as the lawn still looks the same when it's finished, then are they getting value? And help the
yep,
customer to understand that your time is your weapon, not their weapon.
yep. That's
And that
right.
ultimately what you're providing them is a quality service that no matter how long it takes you to do, you're going to charge them the same amount because you're giving them the same quality service.
Yeah, and um, another good way to check, and if you don't want to read all the books, is just look at one of your ads that you've done and see what you're selling. Are you selling that you do quality work, or are you selling the why? Are you selling them being able to go away on a weekend instead of staying home and doing the lawn? What are you selling? And that will show what value. So if you can show you're giving someone a whole weekend back by mowing their lawn through the week, they don't have to even stay home for it. They can do whatever they want. How much is someone's weekend worth?
Yeah.
Could be
So,
unlimited, million.
now I want to talk about building strong foundations in your business. And I'm going to say that this podcast episode is all about building strong foundations in your
Yeah.
lawn care business. So, guess what? Every bit of what we're talking about today is exactly that. But let's list some of those things that you need to get right to build strong foundations in your lawn care business. Prez, what have you done?
Well, first thing, yep, I got the vision, where I want to do. I set KPIs, which we'll talk about later, hopefully.
No, not
Uh,
again.
hey, you'd be surprised. I had a guy, contractor yesterday. I was working with him. He asked me about it, about KPIs and what to measure. Um, yeah,
Yeah,
so it was good. Um,
interesting.
yeah, pretty much all of we spoke about already, which is yeah, definitely them like do them straight away if you can. If you're running a business now, get into it. Write all this stuff down because that's the best way to do it. Some foundations would be learning business, learning how to use equipment, what equipment is good, which we'll probably talk about later. Um, and what are some other foundations? Market research, knowing what's in your area, what other people do. Um, and then when you start, if you do grow or if people are out there with employees, is your leadership skills. That is a pretty good foundation. I'll throw another little video out there I use with some leaders that I've been coaching. It's called submarine submarine captain leadership. I forget the
Okay.
guy's name. He's yeah, it's about a 10-minute video, and it'll explain about a guy that a captain that ran a submarine and turned it around from the worst to the best submarine, but just by a different leadership style. And anyone with employees will get something out of that. So yeah, I can't
Is
think
that
of
David Marquette?
yeah, that's him. Yeah, 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 yeah.
There we
You'll
go.
see a cartoon version of him. It's really good. Another book I
Nice.
suggest read for leadership stuff is How to Win Friends and Influence People. You could use that for leadership
Yep.
and customers. Um,
Yeah.
that's an old book. I don't know who Dale Carnegie
That's the
wrote it.
one. Yep.
Yeah, yeah, that's a really good book for leadership and that. So, but yeah, that's the main foundations. And I think when we spoke on that last episode, um, I spoke through like all the different um, writing down some processes, things like that. So you probably get a lot out of that. What foundations to have in your business? There's about 7 main ones, I'd say. Maybe yeah, it might be 10 or something. I forget.
Yeah. We're going through what they are now too. So we're
Mm.
working our way through them gradually. And it's important to understand what they are
Yeah,
and what you can do to build them.
yeah. The processes is probably a good one. When I spoke about it last time, I think I explained it pretty well. I'm not sure,
Yeah.
but just what you're doing now. If you got a new person in, how would they know to do it perfect straight away? If you think of it like that,
Yep.
what can you write down or put in place so they do it? A lot of people use checklists where they have to do a straight edge, they have to um, snip first, all that sort of stuff. So,
Yeah. And a good way to look at that processes that you need to have in your business is to break it down into different stages of business. So the first stage is to get a customer. And then the second stage is what you're doing for the customer. So those are processes that you can identify, how
yep,
to get the customer.
Yeah,
how to
yeah,
provide the service to the customer, and then as you grow the business, how to duplicate these things. So you're going to start
yeah.
going into, yeah, okay, I need a process for marketing to get the customers. I need a process for the job to do the work. I need a process for how to invoice the customers. I need a process to handle customer complaints. Need
Yep.
various different processes. And a lot of these you can get by looking at what other people do. And I'm going to give a shout out to the local Australian Facebook group, Lawn Mowing Contractors Australia, or LMCA. That's a great place to go and ask questions and get a lot of help there. There's over 6,000 members now. So that's a great
Yeah,
place to start looking for some advice on those various processes.
yeah, yeah. I was throwing a few random questions out there just to make people think, like, um, yeah, just get people in a different mindset of have a business, not a job, which,
Yeah.
yeah, got a few people talking.
There's another option there, and a lot of people will frown at this, but go and buy a franchise. If you go and look at Jim's or Fox Mowing, there's a bunch of other franchise options as well. But if you buy into one of those franchises, it costs you a little bit to buy into the franchise to get started, but they set you up with all of those systems and processes so that you get it right straight away.
Yep. Yeah, so yeah, that's it. Jim's not selling mowing anymore. He's selling businesses.
Exactly. And he also is selling mowing because he's got a great lead generator as well.
Hmm.
So, shall we
Oh,
talk
yes.
about your favourite thing now?
Yes, let's do it.
KPI? Or
Yep.
actually, I don't think we should. I think we should come back to it later.
Yeah, I'm ready for it. I'm ready for it.
Okay.
Bloody love
Well, let's
KPIs.
do it then.
You know why? You know
What
why I
the
love
hell is
them?
KPI and why do I want to know about it?
Key performance indicators. So if you don't measure something, you won't you won't care about it. That's how it works. It'll drop off. If you don't measure your fuel, you'll know that you've got to pay fuel, but you won't know how much you're using a week, how to make it drop, how to use less fuel. You'll just say that's it. Um, yeah, I use you can use KPIs, and especially what a lot of people do. So if you want to increase your revenue, a lot of people, it's a KPI or a metric. You can just say, I want to go from 100,000 this year to 200,000, and then you'll keep doing the same thing, just measuring your revenue, making sure see if it's going up or not. But with how you really want to do this is you want to break them down, like break them down into what are you doing, and that's what you're measuring. So you still measure your total revenue, seeing if it's increasing from last year, by 50% or or whatever 100%. But you got to measure what you're doing to do that. So what are you going to do to increase that profit? Not just continue on the same track and hope for the best, advertise more um, without measuring it. So you need to measure. You need to measure the processes, which is what you're doing to increase that revenue. So when I talk to KPIs, you got your main ones, which are revenue, um, could be customer base, and then they break down further, which is your revenue could be per day, how much income per day, and then break it down even more into what processes you're doing. So you're spending your hourly is whatever your hourly is, say $100 an hour. Is that doing $100 an hour um, going to increase your daily and then increase your revenue by 50%? So your hourly's got to change or your daily's got to change. So your hourly might be right, and then you got to do more jobs per day. So start measuring how you're going to bring in customers, how you got to do the process of advertising, marketing, um, letter drops, do some uh, competitions, whatever you want to do, but measure the stuff that you do and the actual processes.
Now, you're talking my language when you start talking about hourly rates and daily rates and monthly rates and those sorts of things. But when you started talking about KPI,
Yep.
90% of my listeners tuned out.
Yep. Because
All they heard was blah 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 blah.
that's probably what I said too.
But when you start talking about, instead of saying got to measure these things, start talking about, okay, how do I know if I'm doing the right thing?
Yeah.
How do I know if this is working? How do I know if this is worth continuing? And that's where, instead of using the word KPI, that's where you start going, okay, let's look at the various different things that you can look at to determine if your business is worthwhile, if it's achieving something.
Yeah.
And all that's just the long version of saying KPI.
Yeah, it
But
is. Yeah.
essentially, that KPI is a corporate word that makes people tune out, acronym. But
Yeah.
the reality is we all need to know, how much should I be charging per hour? How much should I be earning per day? How much of that should I be putting aside to pay tax? How many jobs should I be doing? And what type of jobs should I be doing that are the most profitable jobs? And then you can apply the KPI to your fuel usage or your employees on the job, all the various different things. How many phone calls? How long the phone calls are? Every aspect of what you do, you can start analysing that. Whether you do it in a very rigid way or whether you do it just by casual observation, like, oh man, I spent a lot of time on the phone today, I didn't get any of those jobs done that I should have been doing.
Yeah. 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 That,
If you don't think about it and you don't ask the question, then you have no idea what your business is actually doing.
yeah. Like if you do measure how many inquiries you get per day, and then so that'll be um, sort of like a sub KPI or um, yeah, and then what's the process you're doing to get them inquiries? So you got to think
And
of letter drops, putting Facebook advertising or social media or Google or whatever, word of mouth. Um, so that's the stuff you measure, and the other stuff is easy to see. Yeah, you got to measure what the process is that drives that thing that you want.
And a key performance indicator that I like to look at is the conversion rate. So if you take
Mm,
10 inquiries over a week,
yep.
how many of those inquiries end up with a paying job? And then split that into a few different factors. So if you're doing a service business that's lawn mowing, how many of them convert into repeat business?
Yep.
As in, scheduled in fortnightly, weekly, monthly.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, how many of them did you turn away versus how many of them rejected your quote?
Yeah. That's right. And so what you do, so if you go off that first one, of uh, like how many you win. So 10 a day, you win, sorry, 10 a week, you win five. What are you doing? So what's the process you're doing to win them? So at the moment, they say they're all phone calls. What's the process you're doing to talk to that person or give that invoice? So you could have the exact way you're going to talk to every single customer. So then you see if that works. All right, I still only got five. Let's try mix it up and use a few different words or or things like
Hmm.
that. Different different types of quoting. If you don't measure it, you'll just be all over the shop and you won't know what's the key thing that's giving you more of what you want.
When you first start business, you probably go into that thinking, I want to win 10 of those 10. So I want to win
Yeah,
100% of those quotes. And I know I'm not going to win 100%, but I'm going to strive for 100%, which means I'm going to be happy with 80 or 90%.
yeah,
And when you've got a full schedule, you no longer want to win 100% of the quotes.
yeah,
So
yeah.
what you need to look at, and start this at the beginning of your business, not just once you've got a full schedule, how many of those customers do I turn away because I don't want them? So how many of those quotes do I go to do the quote? I look at the job and I go, either that job is not the right kind of job for me, or that customer is not the right kind of customer for me.
Mm,
And if you're busy, you can afford to turn away a lot of quotes. So you might
yeah.
sit there and go, okay, I'm happy with only winning 20% of the quotes. If you can identify that 80% of them are the type of customer or type of job that you don't want. But you've got to ask these questions. And then the unfortunate one is, how many of those quotes did I lose because I didn't do a good job of quoting?
Yeah. And if you don't do that, like how I was saying, one of the fundamentals was doing processes. Um, so this is measuring that process. So did that process work so the way you quote, say you're just given one single quote for the job instead of three. You're given three different quotes for the one job. Um, did just given one single quote work? So you only give one single quote. Make sure that's how you're doing it. How many did you win? You only won 2 out of the 10. So then you start going, right, so now I'm going to give 3 quotes for every inquiry that comes in. Basic, standard, premium, every time. And then how many did that work? Wait a minute, I just won 8 out of the 10 because I gave them options or whatever. So that's what you're measuring. So that process of giving 3 quotes, did you do that every single time? So then you're measuring a process, not, and then the next bit sort of does itself as a lag indicator. Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love the old measuring stuff because it might seem like you're just wasting a lot of your time doing this stuff, but you'll get it all back in the end because it's all streamlined and you know exactly how to make money in your business and do it right.
Yeah. You can learn a lot by looking at what Jim's Mowing has done and what Jim Penman has done in streamlining their systems, and particularly their lead generation system. And you'll hear from Jim's, they quote that the large majority of lawn mowing contractors, independent contractors, and I would say the ones that are considered cowboys, they're probably most likely losing customers because they don't respond to phone calls in a timely manner. So on average, I think it's more than 6 to 8 hours from receiving a call to actually responding, either
Mm.
returning the call or arranging to do a quote.
Yeah, yeah, yep, that's right. And I don't know if they measure that, but like I don't know if you're into footy, but
No.
if you well, just for people to see it, it can be used somewhere else. Is like a footy game. There's like a whole board of KPIs that they need to hit to win the game, and it'll show if you ever go back and have a look at them into a um, after a game and just look at the KPIs that they've hit and what they haven't, if they've won or not, and it'll show you clear as day. If they've won, if they've hit the KPIs, they win. It's no different to a business.
This sounds
Yep.
very much like American football. Are you sure the Australian footballers do this? I reckon they just wing it.
Yep, 100% they do it. It's pretty technical.
Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah, there
like
you go.
it comes down to everything. Uh, yeah, yeah. Well, pretty much everything. Yeah, don't want to go
Yeah.
into it, but yeah, they get they measure them, and if they hit them, they win. And you can do that for your business too. If you hit the KPIs that you have, you win.
I'm falling asleep talking about KPIs. Can we move on to the next topic?
Yeah, let's do it. All right, all right, all right. I get
So,
excited. I'm ready to freaking keep going.
so the next topic we want to talk about is learning the business and the equipment. And the unfortunate thing here is that a lot of people like putting their focus on the equipment and the skills required to cut grass or cut an edge. And
Mm,
that they're important things, but a lot of people put so much emphasis on that that they forget to think about KPIs. They forget to think about profit. They forget to think about the admin that's required and the maintenance that's required and
mm.
understanding the finances properly. So, yes, learning the business, learning how to cut the grass and learning about the equipment is really important, but don't make the mistake of thinking that that's the only thing you need to know.
Yeah, yeah. It's because you see it you would have seen it. People are say I don't need to do all that stuff. I just want to mow lawns. That's it. Well, yeah, if that's where you want to do it, you will. But more most likely you'll end up one of them statistics of a failure.
So let's talk a little bit about equipment at the moment, and we won't go into full detail on this, but I think it's important to make sure that people understand we're in Australia. We're not America. We are talking about Australia and maybe New Zealand as well. We'll include New Zealand for this. So the
Yeah,
average lawn care business in our area is going to run a ute and a trailer, and that varies. So you might have a ute on its own if you are able to get around, do a tight run in a suburban area where you want to avoid carrying the trailer around. Some people, like myself, have gone into using a van and putting all their equipment in a van. Some people use a light truck.
yep,
Some people start with a Honda Civic and the mower in the back of this Honda Civic.
nice.
Yeah.
Big stereo.
So there's a bunch of different ways of doing it. And I know there's a couple of kids out there, very entrepreneurial kids that start with a push bike and a trailer on the push bike.
Yeah, 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 yeah. That's the
So
go.
that's your mode of transport. But after you've mode of transport, you've got to have the equipment that you use to cut the grass. Now, a typical business is going to start with three tools: a mower, a whippersnipper, or a bipper dipper, as Ben and BJ say, and then a blower.
Yep.
So those three tools, there's obviously a bunch of different brands and varieties and price points that you can get into those tools. But the average
Yeah, yeah.
lawn care business is going to start with those three things. It's going to be a self-propelled or a walk-behind push mower. It's going to be a straight shaft whippersnipper. A lot of people will start with a bent shaft whippersnipper, and a straight shaft is going to be more commercial, whereas a bent shaft is more for home domestic use. And then a blower. And these days, a lot of people are starting with battery power with their blower, and then they might move into battery power with some of their other gear down the track. But that's quite common as well. So there's
Mm.
a bit of insight into those things. The price point that you choose to get into really does depend on the approach and the strategy you have when you start your business. But the
Yeah.
other factor there is that a lot of people will start to get some gardening tools, not just lawn mowing tools, because a lot of us do gardening, not just lawn mowing.
Yeah, yeah. Yep. Yeah, the tools
So
too, like it if you get your vision and what you want your business to be, that'll help you understand what you get at the start as well. If you can do the hard yards at the start instead of jumping in and buying the equipment, you really know what you want then.
yeah, so I'm going to point back to LMCA here and the Australian Professional Lawn Contractors pages and say if you're not sure what equipment you need to start with, ask other people who are already in business. But don't just ask a blank question. Go in there with some information about the types of customers you're going to be servicing as well, because that's going to be key to making sure you get the right type of equipment to service those customers. And to give you a bit of an idea, almost every business in Australia can start with a 21-inch push mower or self-propelled mower, a straight shaft whip, and a blower,
Yep.
and then expand from there. But
Yeah, yeah,
the
for sure.
average job you'll do with a 21-inch mower is going to be a property that is from 200 square meters through to 1,000 square meters or a quarter acre.
Yep.
And if you're doing really small properties, you might go smaller than a 21-inch mower. If you're doing larger properties, you start looking at they do a few walk behind mowers, self-propelled, that are 24 inches or 30 inches or 32 inches in size. And then you start going on to ride-on mowers and stand-on mowers for larger jobs than that. So there's a bunch of options there when it comes to mowing in terms of the size of the job and what's the best tool for that size of job or that type of property so that you can access it well. If you've got gates that are narrow, then that's going to make a huge difference as to what sort of
Mm.
mower you can get through there. Whether you go for a light mower that you got to lift up steps, or pick up to carry in between an air conditioner and a gate that's really narrow, all those sorts of factors.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. There's a
So
lot of
I
info on that
personally,
LMCA though. Yeah, a
yeah,
lot of people help you there. It's cool.
we won't go into full detail, but to give you a bit of
Mm.
an idea, I started with a 21-inch Honda HRU 216 and a 42-inch zero turn, and then the straight shaft whip and the blower, and that was my basic starting kit, and
Yeah,
a trailer, of course.
yeah, yeah. You didn't go to the bench shaft at the start.
Oh, I didn't really want to be known as the guy with the limp shaft.
I seen a guy the other day. It was a neighbour to where I was mowing. He seen me doing the edges, and then he was doing it with his bloody bench shaft. And I'm like, oh, get out of the way, bud. I'll do it for you. I felt sorry for him.
Good on you.
Or hunched over and doing it.
So let's talk about that for a minute, though. If you're starting to look at how to cut grass, then
Mm.
that's one of the things you need to know. With a straight shaft, it's a
Yeah,
lot
yeah,
easier for you to cut vertical edges. And not everyone cuts vertical edges all of the time, but predominantly the thing that identifies you as a lawn mowing contractor instead of a homeowner is that you do a nice job. You do a job where people go, okay, that grass looks like it's really neat and uniform and the edges are nice and crisp.
yep, yep, yeah. And I remember you mentioned last time about if you got a new employee and then they go around in circles for the first time they go on. And it reminded me when
Yes.
I used to mow my property um, fair few years ago when I had a push mower. That's how I used to mow. It was like go around in circles and catch and chuck it in the bin and yeah, yeah, yeah. And
So what we're
yes,
talking about there, the standard way to mow a property is to cut straight lines. But
mm,
the way homeowners like you or me would have done before running a business is you start from the outside of the property and you mow concentric circles or perimeter cuts that get smaller and smaller until you get into the center of the property.
yeah, 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 yeah. Yeah, that's it. And
So,
I think the best place I learnt was freaking YouTube, and LMCA, like watching people on there. That's the best. And what's that fella that does all the free mowing? I forget his
Tim the
name.
lawnmower man.
Tim. Yeah, Tim. Yeah, he. I was watching a few of his, and yeah, it's cool. Yeah, that's where you learn. You gotta check it out. Probably, yeah, I say this too, because in my when I worked in the mine as I was a machine operator and a trainer. Um,
Yeah,
so train people like from um, like 30-ton diggers to 800-ton like big suckers, and the first thing you tell people, well, I used to tell people is slow is smooth, and then smooth is fast. So what does that mean?
right.
Is go you learn. Not sure. Do you play any instruments? Any musical
I
instruments?
don't. I have done in the past, but I don't currently know.
So yeah. So a guitar teacher told me once when you're learning the guitar, do the chords perfect but slow,
Yep.
and it does something in your brain. So then you'll just get faster and faster, but it'll be perfect. So don't go try to go fast at the start. So with this mowing or whippersnippering, don't try to go like fast at the start. Just
Yeah.
just try to get it right, and you'll get it faster. So try to go slow and smooth, and then eventually that smooth will end up fast. So little tip from my past.
That's good. That's a great tip to have.
Yeah,
So
and
I think
especially
it's really important when you start out in business, you don't expect to be as efficient as somebody who's been in business for a long period of time. You want to get there,
Mm,
but you want to focus on providing quality first, and then speed will come.
that's right. Yeah. Yeah. So
And
at the
the other
start, you
factor
might
is
be
there
an hour. Mm,
as you get older, you go from like an average lawn mowing contractor might start when they finish school. More likely, they'll start when they're in their mid to late 20s or early 30s. And by the time you get to 46, which is where I am now, you start slowing down again. You go, well, why am I pushing myself to work that hard and that fast when I
yeah.
don't need to? What value am I getting from pushing myself really hard?
Yeah. 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 That's right. And then you run yourself into the ground, and next minute you got to quickly sell your business or close
Yeah.
it.
So I look at it as a longevity thing. I want to be able to keep on mowing until I'm 90. No, maybe not quite, but I want to be able to keep on mowing. I don't want to have to stop mowing because my body's crapped itself.
Yeah. 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 Well, I think I told you way back. My vision, my end goal, like my future vision, is to do free lawn mowing for people who need it. Not I don't want to do videos and all that. I just want to do it for people that need it. Um,
Yeah.
so business to be doing its thing, but for me as a personal goal is just someone who needs their lawn done that's struggling or whatever. That's and give them real perfect looking yard and garden for free.
Nice.
That's me.
That's a
So
great goal. I love it.
yeah, so same with the coaching. I want to do that for free eventually.
Yeah. Nice.
To people who need it, not people who want it because it's free. Nah.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. Most people should pay to make sure they're getting value for what they do. And I look at it from that point of view. It's like, okay, what should somebody actually pay so that they value the service that I provide them? If
Mm,
they get it for free, then they don't value it. So
yeah,
obviously,
yeah,
what you're talking about, giving somebody a service for free, is where they don't have the capacity to pay what it's worth.
yep, yep. And it's not
So
because it's
you're,
free, because they need it. That's it. That's
yeah,
me.
so
That's me in the future. We'll
that's
see.
exactly right. Yeah,
Um, Probably what we were talking about there. So learning business, as well as the technical side of mowing. Um, like
yep,
I mentioned, like all them books. There's all different books you can read. YouTube, get a coach, mentor, social media. So yeah, yeah. Get get amongst it. The worst thing, the worst mindset you can probably think is I don't need it or I already know everything. Um, which yeah, probably won't go as good as you hoped if you got that sort of mindset. It's good to be
yeah.
so humility and not know everything.
Yeah, and go in with an inquiring mind and a approach to learning rather than thinking you know it all.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So um, I know myself. Like I read like crazy books. We'll go into Audible now, but yeah. So always learning. You never like same with like it's similar to like a sprinter. If you think you're the fastest sprinter, wait till someone comes along. Someone's always better. You're not the best
Yeah,
always. So knowing everything, you never know everything because new stuff will come out or someone with a different aspect will blow your mind away, which is cool.
yep, for sure. So once you've got your business up and running and you've made it through a season, maybe even a couple of seasons, you start to experience peaks and troughs. And you'll get seasonal peaks and troughs, but you'll also get peaks and troughs where you grow your business to the point where you're maxed out.
Yeah,
And then the average person running a lawn care business looks at employees as if they're not really worthy of being human, even. They're sort of like a monkey. The monkey
yeah,
see, monkey
yeah,
do. You follow me and you do what I say. And we don't even refer them as employees. We referred them as offsiders or helpers.
yeah, yeah,
And It takes a different mindset to look at your business growth and go, I want to treat myself and any prospective staff as employees. What do employees need out of the business? What do I give them? What do they give me? So there's a real
Yeah.
mindset shift there to actually approach it the right way. And that goes back to something you said earlier about starting your business as if it's a big business rather than a small business, starting it with all the systems in place
Yeah.
rather than making all these mistakes as you go, like I have done. So if you don't get this right, you'll often grow your business to the point where you're too busy to keep up, and then you might step back and go, all right, let's fire some customers and just make sure I've got that lifestyle that I originally started for. Or you
Yeah.
might go, all
Yeah.
right, let's put on an employee and then put on the employee. That's too hard. Let's drop the employee and drop some customers. And a lot of lawn care businesses go through these waves of growth and then reducing and growth and then reducing. And you said something previously about this in terms of if you're not growing, you are shrinking.
Yep. Yep. 100%. If every business, if you don't grow, you're shrinking. Um, so to put that in a um, different wording is that everything is in constant change, and if you're not changing, you're going backwards. If that helps you understand it. Um, so technology, the way people talk to each other, everything you'll if you think what you're doing now is going to be perfect for the rest of your life, your business will shrink away to nothing.
You're sadly mistaken.
Yeah, 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 it'd be a bit confronting. Some people might not agree with me, but it's definitely right. And you think it's right, it'll be shrunk, and your business will fail, or you'll have to sell. Something will go wrong if you think you don't have to grow. Um, but growing is constantly changing, having them processes, all that stuff in place where you're improving efficiencies, um, changing the way you advertise. So the way you advertise might not work anymore. All of that stuff. So yeah, that's a really a good thing to ask yourself. Is my business shrinking? Where, like you said, a lot of people you notice some people employ people and then they shrink back down because it was a bit too hard. They didn't have everything in place. And they give it another crack. Yeah. So that's what businesses do, big or small.
So I'm going to suggest there's a couple of factors here, but the primary message I want people to hear is treat your business like you treat your customers. We talked about customers before. If you've got a customer focused mindset when you're running your business, you're looking at what you're delivering to your customer and making sure that what you're delivering is what they actually want. And the
Mm,
same goes for your business. If you're looking at your business as a customer, how are you making sure your business has what it needs? Are you delivering the business needs so that the business can grow, or are you missing the mark, in which case it will shrink? And
yep.
goes back to all those things you mentioned, the marketing, the invoicing, the way you look after customers, whether you're getting more customers or whether you're
Mm,
building better quality customers, all those sorts of things. If you don't use KPI, this is a great place to use KPI. Oh,
yeah.
did I just say that? Oh, shock horror.
Say metrics instead. It might be a bit easier.
Yeah, sure. Metrics. That sounds better. So, but the point is, right, there's multiple different ways you can make sure your business is growing so that it's not going backwards. And if you're not acutely aware of those things, then chances are you will go backwards, whether it's just simply a case of not knowing where to market your business. You end up without a
Mm,
market.
yeah.
So all those various factors come into it, but planning and preparation are key here. And
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm going to say the same is true when it comes to employees. So treat your employees as another customer. Much like I said, you treat your customers that way. You treat your business like it's a customer. Treat your employees like they're a customer as well. What are you providing your employees so that
Mm,
they want to work for you? What what does that look like if you consider yourself to be an employee of the business? And this goes from, the first employee, which is the lawn mowing person, the marketing person, the admin person, the maintenance person, the first
Mm.
employee runs 10 different roles. And
Yeah,
you
yeah.
look at that and you go, okay, that's a lot of work for that one employee. What about once you need a second employee? Is that second employee also going to do all 10 roles? That's a
Yeah,
lot to expect. Are you going to pay
yeah,
them accordingly? Or do you make
yeah,
them a partner in the business if you're going to treat them like that?
yeah, yeah. That's right. And they get burnt out, like, because they're an employee there to do the job that you've asked. Next minute they're doing everything. Um, I read a book, and it mentioned in there. I forget what one it even was, but it mentioned in there loading your employees up 80% with work.
Yeah.
Um,
Okay.
and it it sounded like a pretty good concept to me, because you load them up 80% at the start, which, like I said before, where they they end up learning, because they're slow at the start. Learning perfectly gets quicker and quicker, but that 80% ends it up more than what it was before. That makes sense, because they're
Yeah.
faster. So then they're never overworked, and then they love
Yeah.
working for you, because it feels like you've given them the time to become really good at their business, at their job, and then, yeah, you can use that 20% for something else.
Well, that also gives you a really good stepping stone to give them performance bonuses or commission.
Yeah, yeah, that's right. Yeah.
So it's an interesting idea, and I can
Hmm.
see a lot of value in that.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So, yeah, it sort of made me think a lot about that with employees, because you just want them to work as hard as you did as the business owner, and no one will.
Well, I guess this brings me back full circle. Some people starting business are going to go, no, I never want to have employees. I want to be the only employee of this business. And that's a fair business goal to have,
Yeah,
but make it mindfully. If you
yeah, yeah,
if you choose that that's what your business to want to be, or if you're not sure, then work out what you want from your business. And sometimes you have to set a goal and then be malleable and prepared to change the goal as you go. But full props to somebody who goes, yep, this is clear as day. I never want to have employees. And what's my business going to look like without employees?
yeah. And then, if you want to think at the end, like, what's your business going to be at the end? It's going to be me working, till I'm whatever age. What are you going to do? Are you going to sell it or just close it? Because how many people will buy a business where they're the worker? It's
Not a lot.
just a low chance. Yeah, a lot of people want to
I
buy the
guess there's
business.
people out there who would do it, but
Yeah,
they're
there
not
is.
going
Yeah,
to pay a whole lot.
yeah, yeah. Yep, that's it. It is a lot easier to
Yeah.
sell a business to someone who sees it as a running business, where they can just take over, and it's already doing exactly what it was doing with you, without them, getting straight on learning everything that they needed to, like learning how to mow and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah. Hey, Prez, I reckon we need to start wrapping up this episode.
Yep.
And there's a couple of key points we want to touch on in wrapping up this episode, but
Yeah.
maybe it's something looking over what we've talked about. Some of these points that we've covered are almost worth doing an episode on their own, just to talk about more about equipment. Like if you're going to start with 3 tools, but you want to grow to do acreage jobs, or you want to specialize in doing rose pruning and various different things like that. So there's a whole episode just talking about equipment for different styles of business and various different things we could talk about. But this
Yeah. Yeah.
episode, what we really wanted to drive the message home for people is a lot of businesses do fail in the first 12 months. And I think somewhere around 70 to 80% of them fail in the first 5 years.
Yep. Uh, I think it's 3 years is 60%, is within 3 years is 60%. So once 5 years, it's way up there.
Yeah. And I think that's just talking across the board general with small businesses. So if you're
Yeah.
looking
Yeah.
at
Yeah.
lawn care businesses, there's a lot of people whose strategy is to only run the business for a season or two.
Yeah. Yep. That's right. And I don't think yeah, if that's what they want to do, I think that's more of just a hobby. If it's just for a short term
Yeah,
for beer money, it's not setting up
but
to
it will
probably.
drive.
Mm,
It'll definitely drive up that failure rate or the perceived failure rate of businesses in our industry. And
oh yeah, yeah,
also, it makes a lot of us look like cowboys because a lot of those guys who are going, I'm only going to do it for 1 or 2 seasons, they are cowboys.
yeah. And get a. I like it. I'm just gonna mow. I'm just gonna start up and mow around the neighbourhood, and then I'm gonna get a real job. That's a good one.
I had that thought. I started doing it. I was like, oh, yeah, I'll do this for a little while. Then I'm going to go back to study.
Yeah, yeah. And then what happened? How many years?
Oh,
A few years now.
13 years later, and I don't want to change what I'm doing.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Especially if you got a passion for it, you'll
Yeah.
you'll power on loving what you're doing.
Well, I guess in a sense, I have changed what I'm doing, haven't I? Because I'm doing the business, but I'm also doing the podcast.
Yeah, yeah. Aussie Lawn Stars taking over the world, or what?
Well, if we can convince people that they need to listen to an episode like this, they need to think about why their business is going to fail if they don't listen to this episode. And they can start thinking about strategies and making informed decisions.
Mm,
It's going to make a massive difference. I
yeah.
think that we can target not just the people who are already over the line and starting to do lawn care, but there's a massive market of people out there who are dissatisfied in their job and thinking about what can I do differently. And running a small
Mm,
business or lawn care business is one of the best options they can find.
yep. And it's good. It's get out and amongst the sun, get in here, get exercise. It's a pretty good gig if you got the go about you, I reckon. So get out there
Yeah.
if you want to quit your job and start lawn mowing. Do this, set it up right, and you won't fail and be kicking yourself.
Yeah. The last thing you want to do is become another statistic.
Yeah.
Yeah. Hey, Prez, thanks for your time. I hope the dungeon was nice and cozy for you today.
Yep, it's bloody good, man. Thanks for getting on to me. Now everyone knows who the heck I am. Don't king hit me in the park if you see me mowing. They're only jokes.
We can recognise you by face now.
Yeah, yeah.
Thank you for listening to Aussie Lawn Stars. Please remember to rate and review the show on the Apple Podcasts app or the player you use. Exciting new shows are released every Monday. Make sure you follow or subscribe to hear the next episode.